of you ever heard of a TV show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Would you like to hear us play the theme song? All right, we will be saving that for the end of our set.
Should we say who we are?
Yeah, of course. Well, I think people will know, but yes, of course. Please say who you are.
All right, I'm Perry, and
I'm Steve. Hi, everybody.
from Nerf Herder, who do the theme song to Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Woohoo!
Yep.
And if you watch the show and you got very close to your TV, you might have seen us on the third to last episode where we play at the Bronze. We
Yep.
get like a full 30 seconds where you see us, so it's pretty good.
We are so excited to have you here. We are going to talk about your life, your career, and of course about Buffy. Did you both know that you were always interested in music? How did that come about?
You know, I grew up with as a typical kid hearing what your parents would play. And my mom was into like Johnny Mathis and the Carpenters. And, you know, I heard all that stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And occasionally she'd record herself singing along with the Carpenters. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird, Mom. And then eventually I was just like, and I discovered music. I think my first 45 I ever bought was Disco Duck.
Oh.
And that was my introduction into music. Yeah, then eventually I discovered Kiss, which was, that was the beginning of the end.
That was a game changer.
Absolutely. Yeah, my brother and I would dress up in the makeup and we'd play along to Kiss Alive 2 and we'd air bands. And I was always Peter Criss banging on pots and pans and didn't have much to work with. And I needed a cymbal. I remember going into the kitchen and finding some cake racks. And I'd stack them up and hit them. And it would kind of sound like a little jangly cymbal.
And how old were you when you were doing that?
I would say I was probably about 9. What about you, Perry? How did you discover music?
I listened to Kiss too. I had all those records. They were great. I don't know. I don't think either of us ever thought we would have a job playing music. I mean, that seemed pretty far-fetched. I think when Nerf Herder was first playing, we just were doing it for fun. We didn't think that we would get it on a TV show or something like that. I mean, that seemed kind of lucky.
And your talent is what led you there as well.
I think there's a lot of luck involved. Talent is minimal.
You definitely need luck for sure in all areas of entertainment and in life in general, right? Yes.
Yeah.
And so how old were you when you first started?
Well, I think I was 16 when I first got an instrument. So I got a bass. I really liked the band Rush. And I thought, I'll play bass, but I could never play any of those songs because it was too complicated. So, that's when I started and I was just goofing around. I liked all kinds of music, but bass listening to Rush, that was kind of the beginning of my actually playing a musical instrument.
And then did you take lessons or did you do a combination of sort of self-taught and lessons or?
I took guitar lessons and I had a guitar teacher and most of the time he was just talking about how he couldn't get a girlfriend.
Oh.
I was sort of his therapist. I would go in there and he would show me a chord and he'd be like, girls, oh, man, this lady, I invited her to my show and she didn't show up. And then it was really sad, actually.
It's weird that people that taught music, I don't play an instrument, but one of the reasons is I remember I had 2 piano teachers when I was young and they were both so bizarre that I think it scared me away from music.
It is a weird job, but music is such a fun like hobby thing to do. And I think making a living at it's really difficult. So you try to be a music teacher, you try to be in a band.
And then how did you guys first meet and connect?
Oh, that's just kind of a funny story.
Weird.
I have to bring up Perry's old job. Before we met, Perry used to write a music column in the local free paper called The Independent. And it was called Positively State Street. And his pen name was Andrew Broomhead. And it was this mysterious guy that would write about all the local bands. They have a gig and Andrew Broomhead saw us. Like, who is he? And one day he came to see one of my bands. We were called the Whistling Cherries. And we met that night. And we both realized we were both kind of dorky people and bonded right away. I think that's pretty much what happened, right?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I thought I was going to be a writer. So that's what I did. And then, we started playing music right away after that.
Incredible. And in terms of I know you mentioned Kiss and you've mentioned a few of what other influences did you have musically?
Well, I think when we started playing together, we really were into Weezer. We went and saw this Weezer show that was at a Mexican restaurant. It was our friend's birthday and it was before their record came out. right? And so we saw them and we were like, wow, this band's great. And then what other bands? Like the Muffs, this band, the Muffs, we really loved. We have that in common. What other bands, Steve?
We listened to a lot of punk stuff too, although we weren't, we didn't have the same kind of like punk rock angst as many of our friends, but bands like No Effects and Descendants, which ended up being big influences on us later on. And I don't know. I mean, earlier influences were, of course, Kiss, like bands like Cheap Trick, and then we both listened to Weird Al and Dr. Demento. And one of my all-time favorite records is Lenny and the Squigtones. It was Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. They put out this record. I think they recorded it live at the Roxy. I've got it framed on my wall, the album.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Lenny, it's Michael McKean. I mean, it's like brilliant. Yeah.
We're already in.
It's like pre-Spinal Tap.
Yeah. And then how did you guys develop your punk pop aesthetic, and sort of, was that right away just the way that you were making music, or did it develop, or how did that sort of come, your sound and your aesthetic come about?
Well, maybe, like I was saying, I like bands like Descendants and No Effects. We kind of wanted to play like that, but we're also not very punk rock on the outside or the inside. We wanted to be punk, but we decided let's go for more of a fun poppy version, with this self-deprecating sense of humor. And Weezer was a big part of that, sort of like a combination of Ramones and Weezer. It's sort of like a little, it's a little hybrid.
Another band we listened to that was really influential was Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers. I don't know if you've heard this record, but there's a record by the Modern Lovers, their first record. It's just great. And it really, a lot of what's on that record kind of informed what we eventually did. A lot of sort of the weird lyrics and stuff like that. So I think if you want to, the key to Nerf Herder is to listen to the Modern Lovers' first record.
We kind of consider Jonathan Richman and that first record to be like the first geek rock album, I would say. Okay. It's kind of because he was very self-deprecating and very nerdy and just, but it's amazing. It's a brilliant record.
One of our first shows was opening for Jonathan Richman, which was amazing because he was our hero.
Oh,
one of our heroes.
cool.
And it was funny because we could see him backstage and he was sort of like covering his ears and like trying to sleep while we were playing. I mean, didn't he tell us to turn it down, that we were too loud?
Oh my gosh.
It was really funny.
Don't meet your heroes, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It was really
oh my gosh,
funny.
but that must have been an incredible moment to be opening for someone that was so influential to your whole journey.
It really was. And it was when we first started. So we kind of were just, like I said, we were just goofing around, just trying to play shows in our hometown. And he came through and we got to open for him. It was really cool.
What is your writing process like, and how it may be different than when you started, but how does it sort of go when you're developing a new song?
Well, it's really different now. In the originally, Steve and our bass player Charlie, we'd just get in a room and start jamming, and I'd try to make those guys laugh. And so we'd just sing about, like, all the songs on our first record are just about people we knew. So now it's difficult because we don't get to hang out and play music together all the time. So it's more like do something and then you email it to someone. In 1990, you had to go see them in person and be in a room with them. So I think everyone who writes music now, it's quite different. You don't get all that together time, which was fun. I mean, we were just having fun. That's what happened.
Yeah, and it translates to the music that you hear that too.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's an important part of it.
But obviously, you guys have such a shorthand now that it still translates even if you're not in the same room.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to write some more songs. Our last record came out 8 years ago. So,
do you guys prefer like recording in session or being on tour, or both?
Oh, wow.
They're both pretty grueling. I think the pressure of recording in a studio is a little bit more intense. And then when it comes to playing live, I still get stage fright before every show. But once we get out there and get going, it's like, all right, the crowd's singing along. This is fun. I like this. This is great. So I would choose live for sure.
I don't know. They're both kind of different. Where's Steve with his record?
I know. I want to see. Yeah, he's going for a record. I'm dying to see which one it's going to be. Let's.
Oh, it's the Lenny and the Squigtones.
It's all framed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good one. See, Squiggy plays, let's see if I get the center better. He plays, it's called a squigophone. It's coffee cans that are attached together. And it's like he plays it like a bongo. And there are episodes of Laverne and Shirley when they're actually performing some of the songs that end up on this record. So yeah, it's, oh, Perry's got the kitty.
He showed up. He wants in on the interview.
He's
Hi.
so cute. My gosh. Wow.
Okay, you're out of here, Kat.
If you were going to pick, who would you say between the two of you is the gentler of the two of you?
Oh, wow.
That's got to be Perry.
Probably Steve.
No, that's you,
I
Perry.
think you. Steve is so good with people, and he's really good with animals. He never would have picked up his cat like that. He's just very good with people.
And who would you say is the pushier of the two of you?
Oh, definitely
me
me.
by far.
What are you talking about?
Not away.
I'm the one that's like going, we need to practice. We need to practice. Ah.
We don't need to practice. We're too good.
What is I know it's not a word, but the funnest tour you've ever been on? What's the one you enjoyed the most? If you had to pick one.
Do you have one, Steve? I have
Well,
one in mind.
As far as being fun, I mean, there are some fun tours, but there are some memorable tours. And of course, we're going to have to say going on tour with Weezer was probably the most memorable and fun because it was our first ever tour.
Oh,
and it was
wow.
huge. And it was, it was the Pinkerton record, which of course was like, everyone's favorite album, that tour. And, and their fans loved us. And it was amazing. And we struck gold. We made it.
How many locations did you guys go to on that tour?
Well, you're going to have to listen to a little song we have. It's called We Opened for Weezer.
We opened for Weezer. It was a dream come true. Our video was playing on the MTV too. Right about the time that Buffy started slaying, we were on tour and we were playing with Weezer. Whoa, in the Pittsburgh snow. Whoa, the Chameleon in Lancaster, Asbury Park, the Metropole in Pittsburgh, Rally at Mars, Winston-Salem, Charleston, Charlotte, and Louisville. The Flood Zone in Richmond, Norfolk, PA, Columbus, Ohio, the Newport Music Hall, the Rave in Milwaukee, the Barrymore Theater in Madison, Wisconsin, Wisconsin.
Oh, amazing. So, Perry, I saw an interview with you where you talked about the fact that YouTube led to an Emmy. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. I started making these goofy, like sort of viral videos on YouTube back in the early days, like 2008, 2009. And because of that, I got work doing TV shows, doing ads. If you're from the East Coast, I did all the Wawa Hoagie Fest ads for like 10 years. So if you heard those crazy ads, I did all those. And then I ended up working for Disney. And the executives at Disney had seen these YouTube videos I'd done, so they hired me to work on a show. I wrote a song for the show. Kelly Osbourne sang the song, and it won an Emmy. So really, if I didn't do the YouTube stuff, then I would never have done that. So it was just the dumbest, weirdest thing that could happen.
And is it true that the song also was only included in the 11th hour, like it wasn't going to be in the show?
They just didn't get around to recording it. And it was her I didn't think it was going to get used. And then the last recording session, she came in and she's like, I'm going to sing that song. So she sang it and they worked it into the last episode. And I remember sitting at the preview for the last episode and the song came in and I didn't even know they had done it. It was going to be in there. Even I think one of the executives was like, is that really going to be in the show? And, but it was, and it turned out it was good for the show because it made the show an Emmy winning show instead of being a show with no Emmy. So it was good for the show. It was great for me.
How did you guys get Buffy? Was Allison instrumental in that? Because I heard from Allison that she actually was the one who mentioned you guys to begin with.
She was a huge part. She became a fan through our friend. This is what people don't know is our friend Lisa Raphael is the one that turned Allison on to our band, our first record. You got to hear this band Nerf Herder. And she became a fan, and I think she played it for Joss, and they said, hey, let's get these guys. But Lisa Raffel, thank you.
Yay, Lisa.
Yeah, for sure. And she's great. You should search Lisa Raffel. She's very funny. She's in TV and stuff like that too. She's an actress, but she has a very funny Instagram and TikTok presence. But yeah, it was really lucky again.
And then what happened from there? What was the process from there in terms of you being commissioned to actually do it?
It was strange because at that time we were just getting signed to a major label. We're getting signed, and it was just all kinds of crazy stuff was going on. So Joss, I think, just called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, we have the show we're making." I had seen the movie version, so he explained that, and he said, "I've got the show we're making, and they came up with some music for the theme song. We don't like it, so we're just asking a bunch of bands that we like to come up with ideas." So I was like, "Okay, like why not?" So we came up with the idea and we sent it to him, and I think they probably had like 10 bands, and ours just happened to fit. They just dropped it on the edit of the opening sequence, and the timing was right. It was sort of lucky, and it captured the energy of it, and that was it. There wasn't too much thought put into it. It was just kind of like happened to fit correctly.
You had seen the film, and obviously the show was going for a different tone, but what was told to you so that you knew what ingredients to put in the song?
Nothing. In fact, Joss actually, I was talking to him on the phone. He started to explain something. He's like, no, just come up with something. Don't. He said, I'm not going to tell you anything. Just come up with something. I mean, it was really lucky. He didn't give hardly any direction. It wasn't once the song was just chosen, he said, "Oh, it needs a little break here." Like we had to change it a little bit.
Initially, just let you guys
just
play
like
and
come up with something. Yeah.
And how did you guys work on it? Was it similar to the process that you were talking about before, getting in a room and jamming and finding it, or how did this come about?
Well, we had jammed on it just in practice, and I think for the demo I just recorded it with myself, just like to get the basic idea down and sent it to them. I think they just heard kind of like this rough demo that I had done, and it sort of fit. Of course, when we went to record it, it was really chaotic. I mean, this is kind of a funny story. Our record label kind of didn't want us to do the song for the show, right, Steve?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was originally, I think that the deal had been negotiated before we actually signed the contract.
Oh.
And they're like, "Oh, no, we guys, this isn't important, but we booked you for to do an interview with Adam Carolla, Dr. Drew on Love Lines. So we're going to give you 30 minutes at the studio to record this theme song, and then this limo is going to pick you up and bring you over to the Love Line studio. That's more important." And so we're like, "Wait, 30 minutes?" And so we get into the studio and we crank it out. And he's like, "Or if we don't get out of here and go to Love Lines, Clive Davis is going to come around and bash us or something." Then before we knew it, we were getting makeup on and on stage and talking about weird stuff with Carolla and Dr. Drew.
Oh my gosh, pressure.
It was crazy.
It was, there was a lot of pressure involved. And of course, we want to do the best we can. And so we felt really bad. And, which is what, led us to, a couple seasons later.
I was going to ask that, wasn't it like season 2 or 3 that you guys came in again and re-recorded that? Okay. So
they wanted us.
They knew it was rushed. It was much better the second time around.
We left that studio. And then we did Love Lines, and then we kind of didn't think about the theme song. And I don't think we actually thought that it was going to be on the show. Like we kind of thought that we had screwed up or something. And I remember being on tour with Weezer, and people were, talking to people back home, and they're like, "Hey, you guys are on this show."
When you were initially coming up with it, the thing that it captures so well is the way that it subverts expectations, because it starts with the horror kind of gothic chords and then goes into the rock theme. And that's kind of what Buffy herself does. She subverts expectations. You don't expect what's coming with the show. So was that something that you consciously were playing with, knowing the idea or the concept of the show when you were first coming up with it?
I don't think we thought about it quite like that, but had that Space 1999 record for a reason, and the reason is one of my favorite theme songs of all time is the first season of Space 1999. I don't know if you're familiar with this theme song, but it starts out with the like orchestral stuff, and then boom, it goes into this crazy rocking, like kick-ass rock music. And I always love that theme song. And I'm pretty sure I was thinking about that when we came up with the structure of Buffy as far as having the little organ intro. Like it is kind of this deceptive thing. And then it's just, our band rock.
When you mentioned the recording going back the second time, and now that you knew, sort of had seen the show, knew that it was on the air, knew that you were getting the chance to do it in a way that you were happier with because you had more time to relax into it and play. What was that like?
Do you remember that, Steve? I think we actually played to a click track so that it wouldn't be so chaotic, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I think we did record it with click track.
What's a click track for people that don't know what that is?
Well, it's when you're recording and you're wearing headphones and they basically have a metronome clicking in your ear really loud to keep your tempo. It's like
It's sort of a way too for you to get the exact length of the song to be very close to what you want, because the click track keeps you at the same speed. Whereas I think if you listen to the original theme song, it kind of speeds up a little bit, which maybe makes it more exciting. I think some people prefer the first season, right? Do you think, Steve?
Yeah, the first season is more raw for sure. After the third season, when we re-recorded it, we added the bell at the end, the bong, the very last note. It's like a bong, and that's one thing we added. Definitely sounds more slick. People started noticing that. I mean, people were saying, "Did you change that? It sounds different."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did.
Do you have a preference?
I personally don't. I don't think. I haven't listened to either of them in a while, the original recordings, so I'll have to check that out.
Have you guys watched all of Buffy?
Oh, yes, of course. We did. In fact, we used to get together at my house. We used to watch it together, remember?
Yeah.
That's
we
what
would come
we
to my
did.
house and
We would do the same thing. Like when it would air, we'd get together on the nights, and the cast and crew, we'd like get together and watch the episodes together.
In fact, there was an episode. Oh wait, I should ask first. Are you doing a rewatch right now? So we can't have any. We can't say no spoilers.
It's okay with spoilers. We usually do a spoiler alert sound and tell
Spoiler
people
alert.
spoiler.
All right.
Yeah.
Plug your ears. We were well into. I don't know what season it was up to at that point, but when Buffy does the big plunge, and I won't say anything else, and we were watching it together. We're like, no, the show's over.
Oh, you're like, oh no, we're not going to be on the air anymore. Yeah, that was another bait and switch, right? Another changing the expectations up. And what about, so I know we talked a little bit about your daughter before we were recording. Has she watched Buffy? Have you watched Buffy with her? What's that been like?
Yeah, we watched some together. She watched the entire series. Most of the time it was, while I was doing, housework or making dinner or something like that. She watched it. She loved it. And she learned how to play the theme song on the piano, which is awesome. And she named our dog Willow. So yeah, she's a big fan.
And how cool did she think it was that you did the song?
But she thinks it's cool. But she's also like
used to it.
She doesn't really brag about that kind of stuff to her friends, which is kind of, I wish she would more.
You're like, come on, I've got some undead cred here. I really want you to.
I'm so excited about this book series that was written for me. It is Big Finish's biggest production to date. It's so special, wickedly funny. I cannot wait for you to listen.
Every vampire thinks the rules don't apply to them.
We investigate vampires who break the rules.
Turns out even vampires have police. We're called Office of the Night.
Katrin, my boss. If you believe the stories, she's 1,000 years old.
Magnus, darling.
Sorry.
Magnus is a youngster, barely 100. So he takes care of the information superhighway for me. The internet. He looks me, but no one tears a head off like Magnus.
And I'm Jane.
She's our servant.
I'm your human liaison, keeping the peace between you and the authorities.
We trust you. Don't we, Magnus?
Of course.
So,
Vampires, we are watching you. Feed carefully.
Or you'll be hearing from the Office of the Night.
finished? Good. Come, Magnus. We have immortal laws to protect. And we're running low on cat litter. Polkesi, Cushingly, and Mummy's whole gang.
Season 1 is available now. You can also pre-order the bundle for Season 1 and 2 now. Season 2 comes out in March. Available at bigfinish.com.
It's actually really lucky people ask about like doing the music for the show, but we could have done a song for a show that wasn't very good or no one watched it. So it's so lucky to be part of something that was a great show that people love. And it's really, I think Buffy was such an influential show as far as things that came after it that really took the tone and like the humor, everything. It seems like a really was a groundbreaking show. So it's so cool to be involved with that.
It's a pop culture phenomenon.
It is. And it's actually even more popular now. It just keeps growing and growing. Why do you guys think that Buffy has such legs with the audience?
It's hard to say. I don't. The theme song is so damn good.
Yeah, it's a theme song. It's mostly us, but also the characters are really relatable. Like they're just like the characters are well written and funny, and I think it's just a great written show.
And in 2003, you were the very last band to play at the Bronze.
It was very surreal. Throughout the seasons, we're like, how come we haven't played the Bronze? What's up? And we didn't think it was ever going to happen. And then when we were hit up to do that, we're like, it was a huge honor, of course. And wow, we had a great time. We goofed off all over the set. We had free reign. It was sadly the bittersweet end of the series, and they were sort of dismantling a lot of the set.
As you were working.
As we were working, and we had free reign around a lot. We were we were going all over in each room. We walked down the hallway of the school, the lockers. We went into the auditorium. We went into Xander's basement. Where else did we go, Perry?
Locker rooms, classroom. I don't know. It was funny.
The library? Did you guys get in the library at all?
Well, I didn't see the library.
I don't remember the library. But it was funny because they locked like all the extras, all the other actors, when they weren't acting, they would lock them in this room. Like they had to be in this sort of room where they had to wait. They couldn't walk around. But we got to walk around. You remember that, Steve? Like all those people, they had to like put them in a jail basically while we got to walk around. It was funny.
We thought we were going to get in trouble, but I remember going into the prop room and we took photos of ourselves holding up the axes and all the weapons, and nobody was there to like yell at us. And
was it deserted except for you guys?
Pretty much. It felt like that. I mean, there were a few people here and there, but one of the things speaking of props, I brought some props here to show. Okay, one thing they were dismantling was the Hellmouth, and basically they were just tearing up the walls of the caves and throwing them into dumpsters. And I rescued a piece of the Hellmouth of a dumpster.
Look at that.
I'm not sure what this foam is called. It's that spray and foam, and it's just painted and all this. So that's an actual piece of the Hellmouth right there. Prized possession.
That is really, really cool that you have that.
Yeah, Steve. But there was so much of it in this dumpster. I'm like, I'm going to take a piece. I don't know why, but I'm going to hold it onto it. And more show and tell. One last thing. I promise it'll be the last thing I show and tell.
No, please keep showing and telling. We're wrapped.
We got a copy of the script from that episode, Empty Places, signed by Sarah Hagen and Elijah Dushku.
So cool.
Can you see the?
Yes. And now, did you guys also know that this was did you have the script ahead of time where Kennedy says, what kind of band plays during an apocalypse? And Dawn says, I think this band might actually be one of the signs. Did you know that was going to be in the episode while you were there playing?
No, I don't think they told us anything.
I don't think we knew that. I think they
never told you anything about anything.
Yeah, I don't think so. But when we did get the copy of the script and we finally read that, we're like, wow, that's totally our humor. We would have said the same things about ourselves. So
Yeah, it was funny.
How often do you guys include the Buffy theme when you play live?
To be continued. See you next week when we'll do it again. Do it again.